English, no cap. Yeah, rapid English, no cap. Listen, learn, and you'll speak ASAP with Rapid English, no cap.
Welcome to Rapid English No Cap, the podcast where you learn real, natural English by just listening to us talk. I'm Lily.
And I'm Alex. And yes, the name of this podcast, Rapid English No Cap, is already a big clue about today's topic.
That's right. Today we are talking about social media slang versus real English. You know, all those words you see on TikTok, Instagram, and social media everywhere. Words that sound super cool online, but then you have no idea if you can actually say them to your boss.
Exactly. Like, is it okay to say no cap in a job interview? Probably not, but we'll get into all of that today. We'll cover words like no cap, ghosting, gatekeeping, spill the tea, it's not giving, 8, cooked, delulu, 404 coded, living rent-free, and slay.
That is a lot of words, but don't worry. We explain every single one. Nice and flow, nice and clear.
And we also have something really fun coming up in the middle of the episode. It's our textbook versus no cap segment, our little grammar break inside the show.
Today's grammar tip is about I versus me, and I promise, even educated native speakers get this one wrong all the time, even people who studied English for years, so stay with us for that. It is worth it.
Yeah, it's one of those cases where the more you try to be correct, the more wrong you actually are. Very interesting stuff.
Okay, let's get into it. Alex, let's start with the big one, no cap.
Yes, so no cap means I'm not lying or I'm being completely honest. Like, that movie was amazing, no cap. It just means I really mean this, I'm not exaggerating.
Right, and the opposite is cap, which means a lie. So if someone says something you don't believe, you can say, that's cap, or just cap, one word.
Mm-hmm. And this one has actually moved a little bit into everyday speech. Even people who are not Gen Z use it now.
Okay, what about ghosting? Because I feel like this one has been around for a while.
Oh, yeah. Ghosting is when someone just disappears. They stop answering your messages, they stop calling, they just vanish like a ghost. Poof, gone.
It started mostly in dating, right? You're talking to someone, things seem good, and then nothing.
Exactly. But now people use it for friendships, jobs, even companies will ghost you after a job interview. No email, no call, just silence.
That one is very real, very frustrating. Okay, gatekeeping.
So gatekeeping is when someone knows something great, a good restaurant, a useful app, a travel tip, and they intentionally don't share it. They keep the information for themselves, like they own a gate and only they have the key.
And online, people say, stop gatekeeping when they want someone to share. Like, what skincare product do you use? Stop gatekeeping.
Yes, share the information. Okay, spill the tea.
So, spill the tea means to share gossip or really interesting news. Tea is the gossip, and spilling means telling it. Like, come on, spill the tea. What happened at the party?
Right. And you can also just say the tea is to start a story. Like, okay, the tea is she quit her job and moved to another country.
Now that is some tea. Okay, it's not giving. What does that mean?
It's not giving means something is not working. It's not impressive. It's falling flat. Like if someone tries a new hairstyle and it just doesn't look right, you might say, it's not giving.
It's a little sassy. It's like politely saying, this isn't good. And you can add what it's not giving, like, It's not giving what it was supposed to give.
What's the positive version? Like if something is good.
Well, you could say it slayed, but we'll get to slay at the end. Or you could say it ate, which actually brings us perfectly to the next word.
Yes, ate. Because the first time I heard someone say she ate that performance, I was very confused. I thought, what? Ate what?
Obviously not food. Ate, and sometimes people say ate and left no crumbs, means someone did something incredibly well. They completely nailed it. Perfection.
No crumbs, meaning they finished that speech so well, nothing was left behind. So you can say, she ate that speech, no crumbs. And it's the highest compliment.
I love that one. Okay, cooked. Very different from ate, by the way.
Very different. If someone is cooked, they are in big trouble. There's no way out. They are done, finished. Imagine you forgot to study for a really important exam and it starts in 10 minutes. You are cooked.
Completely cooked. And people often say bro is cooked to talk about someone else in a bad situation. It's a little funny, a little mean.
Okay, I think it's time, Lily.
It is time. Okay, everyone, we are pausing the slang list for just a moment because it is time for our textbook versus no cap segment. This is the part of the episode where we look at one grammar rule and compare what your textbook says to what actually happens in real life. Today's topic, I versus me.
Okay, so in your textbook, you learn this. Sarah and I went to the store. That's correct. When you're the subject of a sentence, the one doing the action, you use I. And people remember that rule. They really remember it.
Right, so then they think I is always more correct, always more formal, always more educated, and so they say things like, between you and I.
And here is the twist. Between you and I is actually grammatically wrong. The correct form is between you and me, not I, me.
Exactly. This mistake is so common that linguists have a name for it, hypercorrection, when you try so hard to be correct that you actually go too far and become wrong.
Here's a simple trick. Remove the other person from the sentence and say it out loud. Between I? Does that sound right? No, it sounds wrong. So, between me. That's your answer.
So, no cap, even very educated native speakers make this mistake. You are not alone. And now you know. Between you and me. Always me. Okay, back to the slang.
Love that segment. Okay, where were we? Oh, delulu.
Delulu, one of my favorites. It comes from the word delusional. So if someone is delulu, they have very unrealistic ideas or expectations. They believe something that is clearly not true.
For example, if your friend thinks their favorite celebrity is going to fall in love with them because the celebrity liked one of their photos,
that friend is delulu, completely delulu. But here's the funny thing. People also use it in a positive way now. Like, I'm manifesting my dream job. Delulu is the salulu.
Salulu is a made-up word for solution. So the idea is, be a little delusional. Believe in yourself even when it seems impossible. It's very internet, very Gen Z.
I love it. Okay, 404 coded. Now this one is very internet.
Right, so 404 is an internet error code. When a web page doesn't exist or can't be found, you see a 404 not found message. So 404 coded means someone who is emotionally unavailable or just very hard to reach.
Like you try to connect with them, you try to have a real conversation, and you get nothing back. Like a website that doesn't load.
Exactly. Or someone who just doesn't pick up on social cues, they're giving 404 not found energy. The internet is very creative with this stuff.
It really is. Okay, living rent-free.
Oh, this one I use all the time. Living rent-free in my head means someone or something is constantly on your mind, even when you don't want it to be. And you're not choosing it, it just happens.
Like, you had a really awkward conversation 3 years ago. Maybe you said something embarrassing at a party, and you still think about it at 2 in the morning.
That memory is living rent-free in your head, taking up space. You can't charge it anything. It's just there.
And you can say it about a person, too. That guy from last week is living rent-free in my head. Could be a crush, could be someone you had an argument with. The rent-free tenant does not discriminate.
Huh, okay. Last word, the classic, slay.
Slay means to do something incredibly well or just to look amazing and feel completely confident, like she slayed that presentation, or just slay.
And slay has actually been around much longer than people realize. It didn't just appear on TikTok one day. It comes from drag culture and black culture, and it slowly moved into wider internet culture and then mainstream.
Right, and that's actually a really important point about how Gen Z slang evolves. A lot of these words, slay, tea, shade, reading someone, they all came from specific communities first, and then the internet spreads them everywhere.
Yeah, and once a word goes fully mainstream, like when your parents start using it, it kind of loses some of its energy. The cool kids have already moved on to the next thing.
That is the life cycle of a slang word. It's born in one community, it travels through the internet, it becomes mainstream, and then it kind of retires or gets ironic.
Exactly. And that brings us to the big question. When is it actually okay to use these words? Because that is something English learners really need to know.
Right, so the simple answer is know your audience. With close friends, in casual conversations, on social media, totally fine to say no cap, she ate, I'm cooked, all of that.
But in a professional setting, a job interview, an email to your professor, a business meeting, you want to use standard English. Not because the slang is bad, it's just not the right context.
Think of it like clothes. You wouldn't wear your most comfortable pajamas to a job interview. They're great at home, but not in every situation.
Perfect analogy. And the same idea applies to Internet English versus professional English. Internet English is fast, fun, full of abbreviations and slang, great for social media, great for texting your friends.
But professional English is more careful, more structured, more formal. The vocabulary is different, the sentences are more complete, and there is much less room for slang or abbreviations.
And the great thing is, you can learn both. You can switch between them depending on the situation. That skill actually has a name, code switching, moving between different language styles based on context.
And being able to code switch, knowing when to be formal, when to be casual, that is actually a sign of a very skilled language speaker. It means you understand not just the words, but the culture around them.
Exactly. And honestly, the fact that you're listening to this podcast, a casual conversation in natural English, means you are already building that skill right now, just by listening.
So, slay.
No cap.
All right, that is a wrap on today's episode of Rapid English No Cap. We covered so many words today. No cap, ghosting, gatekeeping, spill the tea, it's not giving, ate, cooked, delulu, 404 coded, living rent-free, and slay.
And we had our textbook versus no cap grammar moment. Remember, between you and me, not between you and I, even if your brain tells you otherwise.
If you learned something today, or even if you just had fun listening, that is exactly what this show is for. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. It really means a lot.
Keep listening, keep practicing, and don't be afraid to use what you learn. Every episode, every conversation, every word, it all adds up. Your English is growing, and we are really proud of you for showing up.
We will see you in the next episode. Until then, take care, stay curious, and no cap, you are doing amazing.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Rapid English, no cap. Yeah, rapid English, no cap. Listen, learn, and you'll speak ASAP with Rapid English, no cap.